Oh shit, what is going on? Show who you are. Good riddance. Is you kidding? Bid the forbidden. As it was written, you overbidding. With the heathens, karma is a bitch, so how you living? Pray for my enemies, unforgiving. Cast the pearls on hog moms and chitlin'. If it's too hot, get your ass out the kitchen. Finger licking good, good looking. Stewing in the stew, I'm cooking. You psyched out, paranoid and shookin'. Shook the table, babes, I'm booking. Get prepared for this ass whooping. Listen to the words being spoken. You were talking, I'm awake and woken. While I'm spitting this, got your spit, got choking. Era up, a glimpse in my world, eyes shut open. Parallel in my mind, I'm chosen. Reverse the time, heart frozen. Antarctica, cold as ice. Casting lots, rolling dice. Mean as nails, I'm nothing nice. They persecuted me like they rejected Christ. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mouth Off With Meika, where we dive deep into other stories, insights, and remarkable individuals. Today, I am thrilled to have DMG DaPoet with us. DMG is not only just a poet and an artist, but a content creator, a husband, a father, and a testament to power, growth, and redemption. His journey is one of overcoming adversities, embracing transformation, and using his art to inspire others. DMG, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I appreciate that intro, sis. I don't think that's the best intro I think I ever got.
I tried to work on it. I had to work on it for you. You know, I have a star coming on my show. I have to say, I have to write.
Here you go with that. I'm not a star. I'm just a black man who believe that if better is possible, then good ain't enough. That's all.
Right. So how you doing this evening? You good?
I'm good. Tired, but I'm good.
Yeah. So let's jump into the questions then. Just let's give a little background. Let's talk about your early life. Can you talk about, your experiences and what shaped you to be who you are right now?
Well, grew up St. Louis, Missouri. Little burb called Berkeley, and it's adjacent to one of the country's first all black cities in Kinloch, and that's where both of my parents are from. My mother moved, and my mother's family moved to Berkeley when she was a freshman in high school, and so she had me at 19. Matter of fact, she was pregnant when she walked across the stage to get her diploma with me. And then she had me later on that year in October. So grew up very, very close family, very family oriented. I was very close to my grandfather before he passed. And he passed a month before I turned 5. And what's crazy about it is, despite the fact that he died when I was only 4, I vividly remember times that I had with him because he had me every day up to that point in my life, even though he had started to get sick. Like we would, when he wasn't able to drive anymore, we would walk to the stores and things like that. So just vivid memories of him. I remember the day he died like yesterday. Like I legit remember seeing them work on his body as he was transitioning. So, and for a long time, I didn't realize like how much trauma that caused having witnessed that. And I was talking to a therapist when I got older, and she was like, "Wait a minute, you saw your grandfather pass?" I was like, "Yeah." I stood there. He was in the tub, and they realized something was wrong. I remember seeing them get him out of the tub, take him to the back room that became my room when I grew up. And started working on them. And so, but as I grew up, after he died, things with me and my mother kind of took a little bit of a turn because her relationship with my father went south. And you know how that goes. unfortunately, sometimes when the affection of the man sort of fizzles, the affections of the kid kind of goes with it, because all you have left of that individual is the child. So you can't take out your frustrations on that individual, but you got this little dude running around looking and acting just like him. And so my mother and I for years did not see eye to eye. And so I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house as a kid. And by the time I was in the 6th grade, I was basically living with her permanently. 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. So, but you know, that didn't really affect me per se. I just that's just how it was. I had a group of friends in my neighborhood. You know, it was me, a brother I've known since I was 5 years old, and probably 4 other brothers. 2 of them were siblings, and the only one who had a father in the home was the one I've known since I was 5. The rest of us were single parent homes. I was being raised by my grandmother, and the rest of them, you know, it was just their mother. So we didn't really have an example of having a father in the house. His father, my friend, kind of took it upon himself to try to give us an example of what a man should be and what a father should be. But when it's not in your home, it's a different vibe.
What happened to your father? Like, did he leave? And was he active in your life, or?
So my father, the reason things were left with him and my mother was because, like a lot of young black men in the 70s and 80s, he liked women, and women liked him. And so, but you know, we as men sometimes deal in a space of hypocrisy. You know, we can have a lot of women, but our women can't indulge in the same behavior. And so my mother is the type of woman where she got a mouth, you know, and she gonna speak her mind, and she gonna talk, you know, her talk. And so I have a brother. I'm born in October of 76. I have a younger brother who was born in October of 77, but we have different mothers. I have another brother. Well, I should say my sister, which is with my mother, is born in 81. But then I have another brother who's not my mother's son, that's born in like 83. Then I have another brother who's not my mother's, that's born in, you know, it went on like that between.
So you have a lot of siblings from your father.
Yeah, and it went on like that between just 2 women for a long time. And it's like that kind of put a bitter taste in my mother's mouth, to the point where she decided she was going to start seeing other people. And when my father, I talked about the day my grandfather died, that's when he found out she was seeing other people, because he stopped by, and him and the guy who she was currently seeing actually helped get my grandfather out of that bathtub. And I remember standing there and them having this conversation about how she had to make a decision. So
they was making her choose between the 2 of them.
No, not they. My father. My father literally told her, "You can be with me or you can be with him." And when she kind of like, "Wait a minute, you got, oh girl, you know, this and that," I don't want to hear none of that. We can get together. He literally said this. We can get together and we can screw. But if you continue to deal with him, you ain't gonna never be my woman no more.
Oh, so he thought he was the prize.
And stood on it. And that festered in my mother for so many years. And I remember seeing my father when I was in the 2nd grade, where I met my wife, by the way. But I remember seeing him in 2nd grade, coming up to talk to my teacher. And I didn't see him again until I was in the 8th grade.
Oh wow.
because they just could not. They couldn't be around each other. They couldn't. They couldn't do. They couldn't co-parent. None of that. And it was like, as a kid, I don't understand what's going on. And so, uh, she took her bitterness towards him out on me, not just from the physical standpoint, but just telling me things about him that you really shouldn't tell a child about their father. And so, but while as a younger man, I didn't understand it, and I got bitter towards her. As an older man, I started to understand how those type of things can take place, because he literally ripped her heart out of her chest that day he said that to her, because clearly she wanted to be with him, and only him, but she wanted him to only be with her. And it's a sad situation, because in most of those situations, the children are the ones who suffer. And so my sister and I, and my brothers that were with my stepmother to a lesser degree, all suffered. Like my sister not close to my brothers at all. We have a brother who's supposedly not my father's child, but he's closer to my brothers with my stepmother than my sister is. It's just a strange dichotomy that sort of takes place in these broken homes. And I joke with people all the time, and I say my home was never broken. It was never intact in the first place. They were never really together. They never got to the point of being in a home together. So it wasn't even broken. It never even got started. So that kind of dictated the way I would move going forward. But I'm close with my father. I'm close with my mother. Like, we all got past all those issues, fortunately.
Oh, but thank God for that.
Yeah, it just took some time, but eventually we got there. And when I say it took some time, But
did you freeze up?
Did I? I don't know.
Oh,
am I good? Can you hear me?
Is this in the chat? Okay,
Meika, can you hear me?
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Nah, I've been having some internet issues today. The internet company been working on some towers out here, so it's been back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Who are some of your biggest influences growing up, both personally and artistically?
Biggest influences growing up. So I love music. I love music of all kinds. I listen to everything from hip hop to R&B to jazz to blues, rock and roll, alternative. Like I like country. You name it, it's a song in that genre that I probably like. So my biggest influence from a musical standpoint, and that kind of influences my poetry, is Tupac.
Tupac, interesting.
That's my favorite musical artist, period. Really? And after him, it would be Marvin Gaye.
Oh, okay. Did you check out Kendrick Lamar yesterday?
You know I did.
Represent for the West.
I did. I like Kendrick a lot. I'm more inclined. I'm 47 years old, so I'm more inclined to the older stuff. But like, I still listen to Nas, Jay-Z, Biggie, Pac, Scarface, Cube. But Kendrick is one of those newer artists that I actually do enjoy. So,
yeah, he's pretty dope. Okay.
But of course, like authors, James Baldwin, Toni Morrison, my man Langston Hughes, Sonia Sanchez, Gil Scott Heron, musically and poetically speaking. So all of those artists kind of influenced, you know, my life, my style, you know, my writing. But from a personal standpoint, my cousin, his name was Dante Foster. He died when I was 18. He was 22 years old when he passed. But
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, you know, rest in power to my big cuz. But at a time in my life where I was still trying to figure out what my, you know, what my style and my kind of my swag, as the youngsters say, what that was and what that looked like, he sort of gave me the blueprint, and that's pretty much how I've been moving in terms of stylistically ever since. And me and his brother are like brothers. So if y'all ever seen my cousin Shabaka on the channel, that's his big brother. But yeah, from a style standpoint, that's really where I took all my cues as a youngster.
How did you first discover your passion for poetry and music and stuff like that, for the arts?
Musically, just growing up listening to Michael Jackson, Prince, like I said, Marvin Gaye, the Temptations, you know, all of the Motown stuff, looking at all of the specials on TV. And then when hip hop exploded on the scene, I liked a lot of different artists, Public Enemy, NWA. I was never one of the people who, you know, this one particular style of rap was my bag. I liked all of the different. I liked conscious rap. I liked gangster rap. But the first rapper that kind of spoke to me was Scarface.
Oh, I love Scarface. Now that's one of my favorite rappers right there.
Yeah, when Ghetto Boys came out, I was like, man, like I like all of them, but that brother right there. And I remember when his first solo album came out, I still got it streaming right now. One of my favorite songs is Diary of a Madman. And I didn't know how much I would be able to relate to it later on in life, but that was the first rapper that really spoke to me. And then later on, I remember I was looking at a movie. I forget the name of it, but it had, y'all remember that actor, Chevy Chase, Demi Moore, Dan Aykroyd, all of these actors was in it. And Digital Underground with Humpty Hump, they had a scene in this movie. And I heard this young cat, never clown around when I hang around with the underground. I was like, oh, that was fly, you know, not knowing who it was. And then later on, I seen that same cat in Juice. And so I was like, man, who is dude like that? He got a nice little flow. And so then that album, Tupacalypse Now, came out. And I was like, man, this cat, Brenda's Got a Baby, Trapped, Violence, Soldier Story. So all of those cuts on that first album, I was like, man. And then the second album, and I remember he did this cut with MC Breed, I Gotta Get Mine. So, and I was through. Pac was my cat. And so, but how I got into poetry, it's funny. My wife and I've been knowing my wife since second grade. And I've been liking her since second grade, but she wasn't paying. I was just her friend, and you know, almost like family, because her next door neighbor dated and eventually married my cousin. Shout out to Metu Jallo, Nothing But Trouble. That's the name of the movie. Shout out to my bro. But so we was almost like family, because my first cousin married her next door neighbor, who was like family to her. And I was so shy, she didn't even know I liked her. And so we didn't get together till like our junior year. But when I got with her, I wasn't trying to tell her that I had liked her all that time, but my sister gave it away. And so we get married. I was 20 years old. She was 19. So we super young. We buying a house. We got a kid. And all of a sudden, I started going through some things mentally. And you know, Meika, I think you done heard me speak on it, and most people who listen to it heard me speak on the fact that I deal with bipolar 2 disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a heavy thing to deal with when you have no clue what you're dealing with, no reference for it, nothing. And because of that influence and me just being immature, irresponsible, and all of those things combined with that, eventually about 10, 11 years into our marriage, we separated. And while we were separated, I was trying to find a way to communicate to her what I felt. And so I started going on these poetry websites, you know, urbanpoetry.net, stuff like that. And because I'm trying to find like a black poetic perspective. I'm like, I'm gonna send my wife a poem, like send it to her email at work. And she hit me with something heavy. I sent her this poem that I copied and pasted off this website. And she was like, that's a nice poem, but it'll be better if you sent me something you wrote.
That's nice.
I was like, damn.
She knew.
You hear me? Mm. And so I was like, well, shoot, I could write a poem. So I wrote one, sent it to her. I was like, all right, I wrote this, and this is just how I feel. And she was like, yeah, I like that a lot. And I found myself doing it every week. Then I found myself doing it like every day, just writing. And then all of a sudden I had like a book. Like, so my poetry book that I put out a couple of years ago, I had a lot of those poems for years, and I just was sitting on them. And she kept telling me, you need to put these out. You need to publish it. You need to publish it. And I finally listened to it. And that's how that came about. Me trying to express my feelings to my wife and not having too much pride to actually say it to her. So I just wanted to kind of write my thoughts down and let her read them. And that turned into me writing poems about everything. And that ended up being one of the main ways I express myself.
Oh, so you ended up publishing your poetry, right? Yes,
ma'am.
What's the name of the poetry book?
It's Love and Life, Volume 1. I'm actually working on Volume 2 now.
Okay. Can you share a pivotal moment in your life that marked the beginning of your growth journey?
So it goes back to being separated from my wife. And it came to a point where I started to feel like she was slipping away, because I didn't think, I had messed up before, and I was like, I'm sorry, let's try to work this out. And we do it, and I mess up again, or, whatever the case was. But this time was different. She was not trying to deal with me. And something happened. This brother, I used to pull up to my grandmother's house, and if I see certain people there, I keep going, because I didn't want to hear nothing about no church. I didn't want to hear nothing about you praying for me. I was like in a real nihilistic mind state. And so one day my cousin was visiting my grandmother, and I was about to pull off. I had probably I think I had like a fifth of Bacardi rum and a can of Coke, right? Mm-hmm. And like a couple of dime bags. And I'm like, man, forget it. I'm finna chill. I'm just gonna ignore dude, because he was really on his church vibe. And I had already told him I don't want to hear nothing about no prayers and all of that. Like, man, get on somewhere. But he was visiting my grandmother, so I wasn't finna cause a scene. So I walked right past him, don't say nothing. He come in the kitchen where I'm at. What's up, cuz, man? You all right? What's going on? I'm like, man, I'm good. Don't start talking that church stuff. He like, nah, man, we blah, blah, blah. And he was like, man, do me a favor, just come and visit the church. I'm like, all right, if it'll get you away from me, yeah, I'll come and visit your church. This is what I'm thinking. But I'm also the type of person, if I tell them I'll do it, I'll do it. So I'm like, I'm gonna go visit his church and get it over with. But he was like, yeah, man, you can meet my man Eric. And something about that name, I was like, Eric. He said, yeah, his name Darren, but everybody call him by his middle name, Eric. And I was like, darn, this happened to be a real good friend of mine. And so I'm like, how you know him? So he started telling me the story, gets him on the phone. So now they double teaming me about coming to church. And I'm like, man, whatever. So I go and I start going every week to this church. So Darren calls my wife and is like, hey man, hey sis, the brother been coming to church. He ain't been drinking. I think you need to come pee on your tree. This is exactly what he tells my wife, right? Unbeknownst to me. So I'm sitting there and
what does that mean, DMG? I'm sorry.
Look, when he say pee on his tree, so animals mark their territory by urinating on certain spots, bushes, trees, rocks, etc. So he was telling her to come mark her territory because, from his estimation, some of the single sisters was checking the brother out. Now I'm not noticing none of this. I'm just coming and trying to, get myself together because I was kind of scratching and clawing for my life at that point. And so I'm sitting there one day and he was like the armor bearer for the pastor. He up there at the pulpit and he pointed to me and he pointing and I'm like, what? I turn around, it's my wife and my kids. I'm like, what y'all doing here? So they come and sit by me. And we started the process of trying to get back together. And she was very, very cautious. Like, we're going to take this very slow. We're not jumping back into nothing. Maybe we can get to the point where we can go on some dates, but in the meantime, we just gonna take it slow. And one of her prerequisites was that I get my whatever this mental situation I had was that I get it checked out. And because I had never addressed it, like I would go in a rage and punch the wall and yell and scream, rip doors off hinges. And one of the things that I'm thankful to God for is that I never put my hands on her, my kids, or anything like that. But I did cause a lot of fights in clubs and lounges. There's a lot of clubs and lounges I still can't go to in St. Louis. But
how is that like for you? Because I'm dealing with my son and his mental health, and I'm just having a hard time. And it's a little bit outside of your interview, but dealing with him and communicating with him, like, how is that when you go through those moments? Is it like hard for somebody to get through to you, or do you lose like consciousness? How's it? What is it like for you?
When you in that state, you really not trying to hear nobody. And it's not till you, like, I would go into a rage and do all this damage, and then it could be days, it could be weeks, it could be just a matter of hours. And then, but once you crash and you back to normal, you want everything to be normal. And the people around you like, hey man,
that ain't normal.
You touched the wall, dude. My cousin used to tell me, man, you was screaming in your wife's face. You screaming in my face. Like, and I'm just like, man, that's over with, because I desperately want everything to be back to normal. But one of the biggest things is owning what you did in those moments, because it's offensive to people when you assume that they supposed to move on because you mentally moved on. Because when I say you mentally, just like, I'm not in that space no more. Right. But then because it's almost like you indifferent to it. But then when you look at the damage you caused with regards to how the people around you are feeling and all of that, now the sadness starts to come in, and now the depressed part comes in, and that comes off away to people because you the one did all this. What you sad for? But not understanding you can't even control it. So you have to have a lot of empathy while also at the same time being stern with your son, because he can't duck responsibility, because that's going to frustrate you. So he got to own whatever it is he doing when he in a particular space. But the empathy comes with, this is a chemical imbalance that unless he is taking his medication, he can't control. So that's where the empathy comes in for you. And so it's a balance. And if you're not operating in love, you can't deal with a person under these circumstances. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. And so I just advise people to one, have the patience and the love that you have for that person and push that as far in the forefront as you can, but also understand that they have to be held accountable for what they do, because you can't reward bad behavior with a pat on the back once everything is back to normal. Because if you do that, it's no reason for an individual to get help. They can just keep on going and going and going. And then when they spiral, they wig out, and then they crash and they sad and they get through that. And the other part of that is that takes a toll on them. If you look at it, it's a lot of people with this illness that take their life.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to scare you or nobody else out there, and I tell people all the time, I get to certain points where I have what they call rapid cycling. So I could be, when I say rapid cycling, I mean I could literally be straight, like I'm normal me, and then I'm that other cat. Like, I don't want to talk to y'all. I'm gonna sit down here in the dark and listen to some ominous music, some Johnny Cash, Nirvana, some old ill type of music, you know what I mean? And just soak up this fucked up, this messed up feeling that I'm having.
Right.
Or I could just be super talkative, talking fast, and hey, you know what? I wrote 20 poems today. Half of them probably don't make sense, but I'm just hype and creative, and I might call my bro Nobody, and I'm talking about some stuff. Hey man, we're gonna do this on the platform, and it's gonna be this and this. And he may notice it, and he may not, because I could genuinely want to do that, but it's like, so it just depends, because I'm a rapid cycler, so I'm in and out of these different moods. And when you have that, it's hard to keep up. And so sometimes people lose sight of he deal with this situation, because a lot of people, my therapist told me, she was like, you speak so well and you communicate so well about the situation. She told me I should try to work for NAMI. It's like
Yes, I'm dealing with NAMI right now as an advocate, and I go to some of their workshops. Please do, because it's especially, I mean, where I'm at, I don't know what it's like across the world, because I really don't travel much. But in Los Angeles, like downtown LA, it's just a lot of people dealing with a lot of things, and mental health it's like a lot of people it's growing. It's like a lot more people are having mental health issues. Like back in the day, it was like maybe 1%, 10%. Now it's like damn near 50% of the population in LA. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely something in the water. Something is going on, and there has been a change, you know. So please, I mean, if you could advocate and be a spokesperson for NAMI, especially for the youth, man, do that. Please do that.
Yeah, because especially when it comes to our people, because my mother, I remember when, you know, going back to my wife, you know, having that as a prerequisite or one of the prerequisites for us getting back together. And I, you know, I went through and got these tests and got these observations, and they came with this analysis. My mother couldn't accept it. Her the first thing out her mouth was, you don't have no bipolar, you know, excuse how my mother talked, but that's how she said it, right? And I'm like, hey, you think I want to say I got this thing that, you know, like I was embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin, who, you know, I said was like a brother to me, when I told him, he made me feel so much better, because I was hesitant. After I talked to my mother, I was hesitant to say something, because, you know, the stigma that come with it. And when I said it to him, he was like, that actually make a lot of sense.
Right.
Because when one thing that people don't realize too is that it's exacerbated by alcohol.
Really?
And so I would drink a fifth of Hennessy before we even got to where we was going. And you would see me go from sad, like I'm all of a sudden I'm talking about my grandfather and his brother, to I'm cool, I'm hyped, man. Let's get to the spot, man. We finna shut it down. You know, we had this little popular group of friends. Like when we would walk into the spot, people would be up like, oh, they here, you know, and we the life of the party. And I'm super shy. People don't believe me when I say that, but when I would drink, I would be very like outgoing. And so that's why I would drink like I did, so I wouldn't be like off in the corner quiet. And so, but then by the time we got there, now I'm mad. And so I'm walking around like, you know, and, you know, for whatever reason, when we would do these functions, you know, I would get a little female attention. And it seemed like it was always the female that was there with a dude.
Oh, wow. Try to start stuff. You try to start stuff.
And look, I could care less about the dude she was with. Like I'm looking to disrespect home. So I'm literally
you think that's considered ego tripping?
Yeah. Because everything about me was exacerbated. So any insecurity I had was exacerbated. And one of the insecurities I had was about my appearance. This came from, you know, some childhood stuff that I hadn't got past. Because remember, I'm only in my early 20s at this point when this thing first started manifesting. And so I would get into a fight almost every time we went out. And my cousin would be there he would have to intervene, help, or, you know. And one time, I think I bit him.
Oh, wow.
As he was breaking up one of my fights. I either bit him or I bit our other cousin. So I bit somebody. And I woke up in the back of the truck. They in the club. They done went to the next spot. And I'm in the back of the truck. So I get up. I'm thinking I'm about to go in there. They done took my wallet.
Why?
Because they can't have me going in there because they know what's going to happen if I do. So it got to that point where everybody was beginning to understand I had an issue. And so mostly my young wife was catching the brunt of it. And so, like, you know how you see people, they say when they in a manic state, people buy race cars and buy horses. I would literally go to the mall and spend like $3,000 on jewelry. Ain't paid damn bill. Ain't paid damn car note. Now that those things are coming due, and I'm pawning the jewelry that I just bought. Like think about the the irrationality involved in, I see this, I want it, I'm getting it. Now I got to pay bills.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, because I'm past that teenage, you know, hustling stage that, you know, a lot of us go through. And it was a few times where I considered going back to that, but, you know, I almost lost my wife as a teenager because of that. So I'm like, I don't want to do that. So let me go and try this. And so all of those things started coming to mind. And my cousin was like, yeah, that actually makes sense. Cause I didn't know what was wrong with you. I really did. And now that you're saying this, I have an explanation, you know, for the stuff you used to do.
Right.
And so I talked to my sister, me and my sister close. I think you had a little interaction with my sister one time on here. And she said the same thing. She was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Right. And so I was like, okay, now the people that's closest to me is telling me, yeah, you ain't really got nothing to be embarrassed about. This is just what it is. And so I'm like, okay. So I got my prescriptions and I told my wife. And it took me about 2 weeks to tell my wife because I didn't want her to think that I was trying to use that as an excuse for the stuff I did. Whether it was, you know, the stuff that could have cost me our marriage or the stuff that, you know, I ain't know how to go about saying it to her. And when I finally said it to her, like she always do, she handled it like a G. And she was like, oh, okay, we can deal with that. And I was like, that's all you got to say? She was like, yeah.
Wonderful. I mean, they have such a support system. That's,
you know, and that's not to say that it don't get challenging, because it be days like I'll come in and I'll walk right past her and she'd be like, husband, you're not going to say hello to your wife? And I'll be like, what's up, baby?
So,
you know, that type of thing. But so, you know, it gets challenging sometimes, but she been navigating it. And
even on your meds, it's still challenging?
Yeah. It definitely is, because so the mood stabilizer they give me, it go back to when I told you my therapist was talking about how I'm able to express myself and explain things and stuff like that. Sometimes I think that's why they have me on such a low grade mood stabilizer. Sometimes I think I need to be on a heavier one. But even with that one, it can kind of put you in a state to where you almost like zombified. And so I start trying to do to where I would take like half at night, half in the morning, trying to figure out a balance, because they tell you, and you know, talk to your doctor to kind of figure out what dose work for you where your life can continue. And you're not just one of these people who you see sitting in the chair just staring off into space. And so I tried to play with that a little bit to try to figure out, okay, how do I still have like a social life? And because it got to the point where my wife and kids was like, Daddy, go to work, come home and go to sleep. And I remember my wife called me and she was like, maybe you need to talk to them about that medicine, because you not you. And so you don't want to become something less than who you are, but you don't want to run the risk of having a manic episode either. So it's important to find that balance, and the only way to do it is to work with the doctors and the nurse practitioners with figuring out what dose works for you. And every now and then I've had situations where I don't have like the violent outbursts so much anymore, but I will get into a state where I want complete solitude.
I think everybody want that. I mean,
no, when I say, I mean, like, if I could, I would like disappear off the grid completely for
A
months at a
week.
time.
Oh, month. Oh, I'll do it for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, no,
I'm gonna do that right now.
and it'd be like, but that be in that instance, right? Like I wake up and I'm like, man, this social media stuff, and I don't want to be, and all of a sudden I'm making mass exits out of groups and logging off of Facebook and all of this kind of stuff, and it's almost become like a telltale sign that I'm on the edge, so to speak. Right. And in the most recent years, I've been able to kind of pull myself back from the edge, but it was a time when I wasn't able to, and so I'm thankful for that. But I want to get to a point where I don't even have those little mini episodes either, because they still kind of come about to where you wake up just and it's almost like you ever feel like you had something important to say but you can't remember it.
Yeah,
that's the feeling I have when something is about to occur, and I can't explain it. A lot of people tell me I'm blessed because it hit people out of nowhere. Like they don't know when it's coming. But me, I literally get a feeling, and I can try to cut it off at the pass, and then sometimes I can't. So, and it's different for everybody. So what I'm saying happens to me, that wouldn't be what your son deal with or what somebody else deal with, because everybody experiences this thing different.
Right. Well, his is a little bit more severe because I don't think he had bipolar disorder. He has schizophrenia.
Oh, most definitely. So yeah.
But it's still, mental health imbalance or whatever. And then so I'm just trying to learn how to deal with that. But but
if I can, the main thing about that question you asked was me understanding that my wife, this was probably my last chance to have my family intact and to be the father and the husband that I wanted to be. And so I kind of took the steps that were necessary to do that, and getting my mental situation as much under control as I could was one of the first steps towards doing that.
Okay. Defining growth and redemption. How do you personally define growth and redemption?
Just taking, not allowing your mistakes to break you, because a lot of times, particularly the mistakes I've made in life, and the things that they could lead to, it can break you when you look back and realize you had everything you wanted, but you the reason that you no longer have it. Decisions you made are the reason that the people that you care about no longer trust and believe in you the way they once did. And when you have to own that, it can mentally break you. And so for me, it's about taking those mistakes, and instead of allowing them to break me, using those as lessons for myself not to repeat, and for me to give to other young men my age, and even older men, as lessons on what not to do in regards to your family, your friends, etc. And finding redemption through not repeating those mistakes, having the mantra that if better is possible, then good ain't enough, and playing that forward to other individuals, particularly Black men, because I feel like Black people, period, but specifically Black men, we a lot of times get held to things we did when we were 20 years old, and we be 45 and 37, and people still be talking about what we did when we was 22. And it's like, what the hell do that have to do with me now? But the pain that it caused an individual causes them to superimpose that over you forever.
Right.
And so you have to resolve in yourself that you've moved past that. And if a person want to continue to view you in that light, that's on them. But you have to resolve in yourself that you've moved beyond that. And that's where the redemption comes in. Understanding that, you know, sometimes people can recognize the positive strides you've made, but you have to recognize it in yourself and continue to play it forward with other people, because a lot of times people, they're not going to let go of stuff. So you have to let go of it for yourself.
Right. What was the catalyst for your path to redemption? DMG.
My love for my wife. It started out with everything was predicated on me trying to keep my wife in my life, right? And then realizing that I really don't have no control over that. That's her department. I had to first become better because I wanted to be better, and then give her the opportunity to see that, and she would make a decision based on that. But it started out in me desperately just understanding that I had everything I needed in her in terms of woman. Despite the fact that I had my head on the swivel, so to speak, and was looking in all these other directions, I always had what I wanted and needed right there. A lot of people, like when you look at the Bible, and I know a lot of people hate this, but I use this analogy. When God made Eve, when he fashioned Eve, he put Adam to sleep. So Adam didn't know what he was going to get. Because if Adam knew, if he was up, my man probably would have said he want the Beyonce
a big booty in the sky.
and you know, but the lesson is God or whatever deity you believe in as a creator knows what you need, and that's what he got. And so it took me to not have her and face that reality to understand what I had. And so I basically wanted to be worthy of her. And then within trying to become worthy of her, I really started to want to become better for myself, because you can want to be better for somebody else all you want to. And you really, as good as your intentions is, you're going to fall short every single time. You have to want to be better for yourself. If you're not trying to strive to be better for yourself, how can you be better for somebody else? If you don't love yourself, how can you expect to know how to love somebody else? Right. So those were the lessons I learned on that journey. But it all sparked from me trying to become worthy of her, and then figuring out I have to be worthy of myself before I can be worthy of anybody else.
Right. How did you and your wife prepare for marriage, and what foundational values do you both hold?
So the funny thing is, we were so young, all we had to go on was what we saw in the church. And I was a super skeptic of church in general. Like the stuff I seen, I was not a fan of going to church. She was raised in church. So I remember when we started dating, she kept asking me to go to church with her, and I wasn't trying to go. And I'm like, man, all they do is ask for your money. All they do is, you know, swindle people. They probably gonna ask for like 10 offerings, this and that. But after my cousin, who I idolized, died, she got me at a vulnerable moment, and I went to church. Now, what was funny about this, rest in peace to my man, Brother Dave. That was my man. And he walked up to me, this big, tall, light-skinned man with a big gray beard. He was the deacon at the time. So, you know, I'm expecting the deacon to be in your pockets. Shook my hand. Hey, how you doing, young man? Hey, how you doing, sir? And he put $100 bill in my hand. And I was like, Sir, I think you made a mistake. Because I'm like, I ain't taking this. Like you, he was like, nah, the Lord told me to give you that. And I was like, what? So he didn't flip the whole take your money thing on his head because he just gave me some bread.
Right.
So I'm like, what the hell? So I go up to get prayed for. Shout out to my uncle pastor. He was the assistant pastor back then. And he all in my business. Like he praying that I get along better with my parents because at the time I couldn't stand either one of them. And, praying for me with regards to my grandmother. I had like anxiety about something happening to my grandmother. And I used to tell my grandmother, I hope I die before you, so I don't even have to deal with that. And I'm looking at my girl like, man, you been telling this man my business? And she like, I ain't telling him nothing about you. I ain't even telling you was coming today. So that kind of changed my perception on church. Shout out to Sister Ruth Miller. She walk up to me and she say, how you doing, mighty man of valor? Now you talking about a young man at 18, I think I was 18 to 17, who had been told by his own mother that she wished she never had him. She should have got an abortion. And here this woman come up to me who never met me, and she called me a mighty man of valor. And my wife tells me that she didn't even deal with younger people. They thought she was mean because she never talked to younger people. But she walks up to me and calls me a mighty man of valor.
Oh, wow.
And both of them till they passed on were close to me. When I wasn't dealing with the church like that. And so it's like that. Those were like profound moments for me because I'm sitting here thinking like, she don't even talk to y'all. She was like, she barely ever talked to me, and she gonna walk up to you talking. Me and Sister Miller got so close. She been knowing my wife whole life. She started calling my wife, my name Doug or Douglas. She started calling my wife Sister Doug. Been knowing her whole life. Met me when I was 18, and she started calling her Sister Doug. So the foundation we got in the church and those examples that we had, some strong, powerful couples who had been through some things, that kind of gave us the examples of what we kind of wanted to be. And, that's what it was for us. And, we was young and impressionable. So there you go.
Can you share a significant challenge you faced in your marriage and how you both overcame it?
Me being immature, me not being ready to be a husband and not being mentally prepared for the responsibility of being a husband and a father. And and at a young age, and my young wife having to navigate not just that, but being a young woman with a child, and us being young homeowners and not quite knowing what we got ourselves into because, no one prepared us for home ownership. Everybody just thought it was great that this 19-year-old was buying a house, but nobody never really sat me down and said, hey, this is what you have to do, and the way your property looks affects the people around you. And I didn't understand none of that. Again, my mother never owned a house. Up to that point, I bought a house before my father did. So being married young and me not being ready to meet that challenge was the main thing that I think was the main challenge for our marriage, because that umbrellaed into several issues, whether it was financial, whether it was moral, whatever you name it. Because as the man of the house, as the head of the house, if I'm not in line with in the ways that I'm supposed to be, then everything else is on shaky ground. So that was a tough lesson to learn and a tough responsibility to understand, because you're young and hard-headed and brash, and and so I just didn't really get it. And so once we hit that transition to where we got back together after being separated, we both had kind of a new perspective on what our expectations were and how we were going to move forward. And so
that brings me to my next question. What communication strategies have been most effective in maintaining a healthy relationship with your wife?
Just being honest. Even when feelings gonna get hurt, even when it's gonna be received a particular way, you just, like I tell my wife all the time, like, you ain't gotta worry about nobody coming to you with a particular kind of news. If I don't want to be with you no more, I'm just gonna tell you. Like, at this age,
I mean, if you knew her since what, second grade, I don't think you don't ever not want to be with her at this point.
And that's a fact. But see, not wanting to be with a person and doing the things that it take to continue to be with a person is two different things. See, I could want to be with her, but am I willing to do what it takes to continue to be with her? So if she says, I want you to be faithful to me and only me, and I decide I don't want to do that no more, I know if I step out with somebody else, that means it's over for me and her, right? And so if I do that, then for me, it's like, all right, let me tell her this is what it is. And instead, because at 47 years old, I don't have I done got my knee scoped. I'm not going to be trying to sneak around and creep and all this kind of stuff. If it get to that point where I'm not spending time with you in order to spend with somebody else, we just need to sit down and have an honest conversation. And I hope she feel the same way. Now, will that ever happen for me? Absolutely not. I hope it don't ever happen to her, but I'm just using that as an example of how I feel we communicate, because we just say what it is. Like, hey, babe, you might want to go gargle your breath kicking. Like, we just keep it a buck. And we've been together since 1994, so it ain't no reason not to. And I think that as long as you honest about what you want and what you require, what your goals are, and who you are as a person, because nobody stays the same. I'm not the same person I was in 1994, and she's not the same person she was in 1994. I'm not the same person I was in 2018.
Right.
So you continue to evolve as people. And so you have to be willing to roll with those evolutions and those changes. And so, and get to the core of who that person is, because the core of who they is who you love. And so, and if you feel like you can't love who they are now, you need to be honest with them. Because it's a lot of people sitting around pretending that they still in love with a person. They may love them, and they may have love for everything they done built with them and the time they put in with them, but they not in love with them no more, because they not the same people they was, and the person who they've turned into, they can't love them. And I never want to be like that with her. So I just try to keep it honest.
Right. How do you balance your role as a husband with other responsibilities such as work and personal interests?
That get difficult sometimes. Like even with doing the show, you know what I mean? Because my wife called my show my mistress. She like,
hey, my husband's job, his mistress. We don't like it. We don't like it. If we calling it your mistress, you better take a mental.
Yeah. So she like, you gonna be with your mistress tonight, or we doing something? And it'd be like, when she start talking like that, it'd be like, yeah. But that's part of the idea. Like, I've always wanted to share my platform with other people and have like a group of brothers and sisters who I could trust to come on and put out content that's gonna edify our people. And it don't have to be content that I agree with. Like, if my man Metsu hit me up and said, "Hey, bro, I want to come on and I want to teach about ancient Kemet. Let's go." If my man Captain K hit me up and say, "Hey, I want to teach about the Israelite paradigm," let's go. And they both know that. I hope Metsu still know that. It's been a minute, but I got to get him back on here. The brothers I got as admins, the Craigs, Darian, the GT, Kahani. I have them not only because I trust them to put out content that our people can be edutained with, as I like to say, but also, hey man, I gotta go spend some time with the wife. I'm trying to put some Hershey syrup on her toes tonight. I need one of y'all to host. And that's all it is, because sometimes she get tired of me being with my mistress. So I got to put the show on the back burner. Right. So that's how I kind of do it, because you can't really get around work. And so, but the show is something that I can try to manage. As far as my kids are like, they pop in my room and my wife be like, "Hey, me and your daddy got to go to bed," because me and my kids will talk for hours.
How old are your kids?
I have 5 kids, so my 2 oldest daughters are grown and married. But the 3 I have a 30-year-old who has 2 kids, and then I have a 26-year-old who has 1, and both of them are grown and married.
You a grandpappy?
I'm a grandfather, yeah. I'm a pawpaw.
Pawpaw, that's what they call you.
Yeah, but like I said, me and my wife got started young, so like she I say I'm a pawpaw, but she a grandma. So
grandma, I like that.
But yeah, so with the kids, and right now they working at my gig. So, but yeah, we talk about everything, and when I say everything, I mean everything. Those 3 youngest ones. One, if I could say one regret I have is I don't think I was half the father to my 2 oldest girls that I am to the 3 younger children that are still in the house. From a mental standpoint, from a responsibility standpoint, economically, I just wouldn't where I needed to be what I wish I was to them. And I feel like they missed out on the best version of me. Whereas
they got the raw version of you. I always say, just like you just said, right, that you wasn't the same person in 2018. And my sister always, when she talk about our dad, I'll be like, "You mean your daddy?" Because we don't have the same daddy. My daddy is different than your daddy. Because even though we had a sack, we both came out of his, his sack. He was a different man when he was raising me versus when he was raising her. So it's gonna always be that with any one of your children. I wouldn't feel bad about that because you was
it's something I deal with. I can't really I try to move past it, but I really do have I struggle with it because I realize how much I wasted my youth on frivolous things when I could have been spending time with them. Whereas when I had the 3 that's here, that still live here now, I had them, I took them to all their doctor's appointments, dentist appointments. I had them all the time. And I just wish I would have been at that same level with the oldest 2. And it ain't nothing I could do about it, but I do have some regrets about that. If I could go back, if I had a time machine, it's a lot of stuff I'd change if I could slap my younger self, but that's one of the things I definitely would like. Hey man, you gotta keep that that same energy with those two. And that's all. Now my oldest daughter, she good. Like she say I'm too hard on myself. But my second oldest, we got some distance between us. And it's all good.
I understand where you're coming from, and like I had
Hey,
some.
hey, real quick, Meika, my man Metu.
I see him. I see him. I was
Okay.
going to address that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he do all my stuff too, by the way. So check him
yeah.
out. He real good.
Met too. Like, look. Oh gosh, how can I do it? Is that your name on Facebook? Because I'll hit you up on Facebook.
I'll put y'all in a group together.
Yeah, link us up, DMG, because I'm
Matter of fact, I'm
I'm
doing
trying
that.
to do a new. I got my hands in so much stuff, and I know I'm super smart and everything, but it becomes overwhelming, and I do need like some help on certain things. So just hit me up. You know what I'm saying? And and we could talk about that. But as far as you and your older two children, DMG, just I think would be the great. This is just me talking because I had some issues with my dad growing up too. But I think that I have the best relationship with my dad now as an adult. So you can always start right now with having good relationship with your children right now. Nobody ever said you have to stop being a father. You know what I mean? Just because they grown. Which brings me to the next question. How did you feel when you first became a father, and how did you prepare for that new role?
You know what? It really it was kind of like I had this situation where so we lost a child
Mm-hmm.
and our first one together.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
when I used to speak to the baby, whenever she would hear my voice, she would move.
Mm-hmm.
Like soon as I hit the door, she hadn't moved all day, but when she heard me, she started moving. And it devastated me when we lost her.
Mm-hmm.
So when we started to have children, I was just like overprotect. I'm still overly protective of all of them, like and it's one of the best feelings you could ever have. I never forget. I saw my daughter on the ultrasound, and her hand did like this, and I said she just waved at me because that's what it looked like. But it's I think it's the greatest. It's the greatest feeling you can have, just because it's another version of you who you can pour into and who can hopefully, uh, you know, learn from the mistakes you made and improve upon them. I always tell my son he the new improved DMG. He don't
Uh,
have to repeat the mistakes me and my father did.
I'm so sorry. How you pronounce it, Matt? Too about what's going on, but hopefully, you guys will talk. Um, what is? Oh gosh, I was waiting for. Oh yeah, what is your parenting philosophy, and how do you implement it in your daily life with your children? Did I say
Um,
everything?
so for me, I try not to judge my children, and I just try to have unwavering support. Uh, I see a lot of times where people turn their back on their kids for reasons that I just think they be to me they be weird, and I'm like I'm not turning my back on my kids uh,
That's
for any reason, uh, unless it's like if it's like a situation where my son killed my daughter, that may be hard to get past. But
right.
but situations like who they choose to be in relationships with, or things of that nature, I'm just not turning my back on my child. And I feel like you hear your children out, you teach them the best way you can, and as long as they not doing nothing that's detrimental to themselves and other people, you support them. And even when they are doing things that are detrimental to themselves, you try to help them as much as you possibly can. Not to the detriment of yourself, but you try to be there for them and in any way you possibly can. And that's just how I look at it. And I feel like I didn't have that from my parents until later in life, but I always had it from my grandmother. If a girl, and I don't put my hands on women, but if a girl ran up to my grandmother and said, everybody in my family called me Bubble, but if a girl ran up to her and said, Bubble blacked my eye, my grandmother would be like, what you do to him? Like that's like anytime somebody came to her about something I did, she'd be like, what you do to him though? She never wavered in her support for me, no matter what. And that's who I learned from. So I just take that same philosophy. Like this, I'm gonna be a father for the rest of my days. And so I just take that for what it is. And they know they can tell me anything. You ain't gotta hide nothing about yourself from me or nobody else as long as I'm alive. Because if anybody come at you about whatever, they're gonna have to go through me first. I'm gonna protect them with my last breath. And they know that. And I feel like they feel the same way about me. So
right. How do you and your wife work together to create a cohesive and loving family environment?
It's tough because we clash a little bit when it comes to having to our philosophies. And so she, a lot of times the father is more of the disciplinarian. In our house, it just depends on what the situation is. So in some things, she's the more, stern individual. And in other things, I'm the more stern individual. And so like prime example, when it comes to how the girls dress, she's very liberal. My girls are, nice looking girls and they have shapes. I don't like them wearing revealing clothes. She don't mind. That said, I don't mind them going like to their friend's house and, hanging out and this and that. She gets anxiety about it. So, you know what I mean? So it's kind of, we just have to figure out a balance for our different views on things, because in some things she's super conservative and I'm very liberal. In other things, I'm very conservative and she's super liberal. And so, that's kind of how we go. I'll give you a prime example. So I have this thing where I say this to people all the time. So if my daughters lived a quote unquote alternative lifestyle, wouldn't really bother me much as long as they maintained their identities as my daughters and didn't try to pretend to be my sons. I feel like, girls go through phases and, they get past it or whatever the case may be. My son, on the other hand, living an alternative lifestyle would probably, that would be
devastating.
It would be an issue for me. And I don't, now for my wife, she like, it'll be an issue for me. I don't care who it was.
Right. But that's like a double standard.
Yeah, it is. But that's where I'm at with it. For me, if it's him, and my rationale is this: they as females can walk that back whenever they want to, because you're gonna have a young man who gonna relish in the fact that he the one who got them to turn away from that particular lifestyle, or he's going to indulge in that lifestyle with them. Either or, they can find solace in a particular kind of relationship. Men can't walk back that particular, like if you in that, you probably in that, because it ain't no walking that back for a man.
Tank said you can.
He lied. And like, what's my man Donnie McClurkin? He been divorced, I think, 2 or 3 times because he say it ain't for him. He still has issues with those type of desires, and so, and I'm no expert. I'm not pretending to be. I don't judge anybody for what they do and what they don't do. I'm just saying that's one of those things that, as my kids were growing up, I kind of just put my feelings out there about it. And my wife like, man, look, I don't care who it is. I ain't support, and so we would kind of have a back and forth. Or it could just be as simple as I'd probably be cool with my son dating when he was 16. Now he's 17, but I probably would have been cool with him dating at 16. Whereas I probably would have wanted my daughters to wait till they were 17 or 18. I
have a 25-year-old daughter, and I don't want her dating at all.
See, and I get it, because it's a lot of creeps out here. And see, I have a very, like, I don't know what to call it, but for me, dating somebody that's 4 years younger than me is more than 4 years younger than me is out of the question.
Why?
I got a sister that's 4 years younger than me, and I just feel like a complete creep if I entertain anybody her age. Her friends, when we was growing up, like a lot of her little friends had crushes on me and stuff like that. I just felt like that was weird. And I think dudes that be like, oh man, them freshmen coming and they seniors in high school, I think that's weird. Why you can't date somebody your age? So I just, like, it's levels to life, and it's okay to stick with your own age. And so I just feel like females should be given the opportunity to be cool and figure themselves out for a little while before they start getting out there with these creepy little dudes. But that's just me. I remember being a little dude, and I never messed with girls younger than me, like I said, but I was on the prowl. And so I know how these little cats think. And so, like I said, I'm super protective of my daughters. They laugh because when they came up to my job to start working, the young guys that worked there, when they spoke to them, they put their head down when they spoke to them, because I was like, hey man, don't think you finna holler at my don't think you finna holler at my daughter. Cause I know y'all. Like, if I ain't know y'all might be able to get that off, but I know y'all. You're not talking to my daughter. And they was like really tripping off the fact that these little dudes really put their head down and when they spoke to them, but they know what it is. I choose violence. So don't play with me. But
Okay, so how's your role as a husband and father contributed to your personal growth and redemption?
I mean, it was the catalyst for it. If I was a single man with no kids, I'd be an animal out here. Like it would just, I'd be an animal. And so they keep me domesticated and civilized. If I didn't have them, we wouldn't be on YouTube talking, because I'd be trying to pull somebody's dress off.
What? Wait, what happened? Shout out to what's his name of Matu, because I feel y'all now. He said his fiance is 28 and he's 37. See, because I'm 44 and my husband is 35.
Yeah, but see, all of y'all grown, so I ain't judging that. My cousin, who like my brother, he 48 and his wife like 32 or 33, I think. Again, I'm not judging nobody who do it. It's just not my thing. That's all. I ain't judging nobody though. Shout out to my man Metu.
What? Okay. What are? Let me see. I think I asked you that question already. So, that was a question I had for you next. Oh, how has your art played a role in your personal growth and redemption? Like your poetry, how did it play a role? Was it like an outlet? Did it help you, grow?
It was definitely an outlet, and yeah, it definitely helped me grow because it taught me. So I grew up being told that I had a learning disability, that I wouldn't really amount to nothing, didn't have any talent, these type of things, right?
Really?
And so when I look at life, and I'm like, I dropped out of high school and I got my GED and I started taking college courses, and I'm having conversations with college professors, and they telling me how impressed they is with my work and my knowledge of certain things in history and writing and things of that nature, right? With regards to mythology and philosophy and stuff like that. And I'm like, I thought I had a learning disability, but it didn't really start to register for me until I started writing poems, and I would show them to those same professors, and they was like, man, you could really, do something with your poetry. And I was like, man, because I was really just doing it to impress my wife. But then the more I started writing I still write about our relationship and my feelings towards her, but I also write about, when I'm depressed, or, when I'm happy, what's going on in the world, what's happening with Black people in general. And once I figured out I had a talent for it, it just kind of hit me like, wait a minute, I thought I didn't have no talent. I thought and so you start to realize that it ain't that we don't have talent or that we have learning disabilities, it's that they don't know how to teach us.
Amen to that. Now,
you know what I mean?
I gotta ask, can you share a specific piece of your work that encapsulate your journey and transformation?
You really gonna put me on the spot like that, Meika?
I mean, come on. We need to hear a little something. Just give us a little something.
Wow.
Okay, you can send me a video, send me some music, or find a poem and read it. But I'll come back to it. And
come back to it. I'm gonna open it
up. While you're looking, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm opening it up.
Okay. So let's see. Let's get to it. And then what lessons you learn? No. What advice do you have for those who may have been going through maybe going through what you've went through? What advice would you give them?
Just I hate to sound cliche, but I would say never give up. It's never as bad as we think it is. You can always pick yourself up. It's always somebody that can help you pick yourself up, and you can continue to grow and to learn from the mistakes and the mishaps that happen in your life. The thing is, we often think that the latest bad thing is the worst thing ever, when it's really just another setback that you can use to continue to set yourself up. And so I would just say, never give up on yourself.
Are there any specific steps or mindsets that you found particularly helpful?
My mantra is always, if better is possible, being good isn't enough. So even if you're doing good, remember you can always do better. And as long as you're seeking to be better, then you always have that mind state that this that I'm doing right now is not enough, because I can always be better. I can always improve. And so just keep that mantra And the setbacks that you have will never permanently set you back, because you already know I can do and be better than I was. So just keep that mind state and keep pushing forward, because people will turn their back on you for good reasons and for fickle reasons. But you have to always have faith in you, no matter what. Because when people turn their back on you, you still have to keep pushing. People gonna die, people gonna leave, they gonna walk away. Kids gonna grow up and they gonna meet somebody who helped them become a better person in love and life. And you have to be willing to be at peace with who you are when you are standing by yourself. And if you're not, then what's the point? So become at peace with you and understand that just like you love this other person, just like you love those kids, you have to put that same amount of energy into yourself.
Okay. And how do you envision your future growth and continued redemption journey?
Just being aware of the things that I know kind of trigger me to fall into bad habits, and not ignoring the warning signs that's there, and just being, keeping my head on the swivel for the things that I know could put me in a bad situation, and continuing to write, continuing to surround myself with people who got my best interest at heart, who got my family best interest at heart, being the best father I could be, being the best husband I could be, best son, best brother, being the best version of myself that I could possibly be, and understanding that a setback and a mistake does not define who I am. How I come back from those setbacks and mistakes is what defines.
Amen to that. And what upcoming projects or goals are you excited about that reflect your personal evolution?
Well, I finally put out my poetry book. And while I'm proud that I put that out, it wouldn't, like, from an aesthetic standpoint, I feel like I could have did a better job. And so I'm working on volume 2, which will be a lot better when it comes to, the presentation of the book. So y'all look forward to that. I'm gonna try to have that out by October, on my birthday, October 14th. And then, what we doing with the platform. Shout out to the Craigs. Those brothers really helped me elevate the platform to where it is, and it's still a small platform, but we're growing. Shout out to my man, the GT and the Dream Team, for bringing powerful content. Shout out to my man, Nobody. Shout out to Meika and everybody else that helped me, bring good content to the platform. We're going to continue to try to bring stuff that edify and edutain our people. Like I always say, if you Black, I'm with you, and I hope you with me. And that's why I shout out, my Christian brothers and sisters, my Kemetic brothers and sisters, the NOI, the Moors, the 5%ers, the atheists, the Abos, the Rastas. I shout all those ideologies out because, like I said, we can have uniformity. We can have unity without uniformity. And we can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable. And so I want to continue that mantra where our people know that this is a platform that they can come to, speak their speech. Even if we disagree, we can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable, and the cream gonna rise to the top. So whatever people decide to follow, they can make that decision for themselves. But at least they was allowed to come on and teach whatever it is they had to teach, and have conversations about whatever it is they want to have conversations about. So very proud of what we're doing on the platform. We got a tournament coming up. Shout out to the Craigs for putting that together. And we're gonna keep moving forward on the platform. Like I say, I got the book coming out hopefully in October. I'm trying to get that done. And that's all. We're gonna keep pushing forward and keep bringing, hopefully satisfying content to y'all.
All right. Did you find that poem yet?
Yeah, I guess I found one. Let's see here.
I want to shout out to the chat too. I'm sorry I didn't get to say hello to everybody. Shout out to Penn, and I think that was your boy St. Louis. Who's St. Louis ISUPK? Ain't that your boy?
Oh, that's Captain K. My man's in there. Yes, ma'am. That's, like DMX said, that's my man's in there.
Yeah. And I think one of the Craigs is in there. Russell Brass. You ready? Russell.
Yeah, I'm ready. So this is called, for those who don't know, one of my wife nicknames is Jam. So y'all take that for what y'all will, but this is called a blues for Lady J. It say, each time I close my eyes, it's your face that I see. I wonder if you feel the same way about me. You have a face like an angel, but you make me want to sin. I can't help but contemplate what might happen when I see you again. The moment arrives, we come together in a passionate embrace. Our tongues become enthralled by each other's special tastes. We remove our clothes and let them fall to the floor. With each touch of our lips, we both seem to want more. You are my queen, and I shall worship you from your head to your feet. In all my days, I've never tasted anything so sweet. Our heartbeats is one during our ballad of love. Our bodies become entwined and we fit each other like a glove. Our hands are clasped tight together as we get closer to the end. We can't hold back our bodies as we fall into a tailspin. The climax is here and it's over and we're done. I let you sleep as I watch the rising sun. I give you a kiss to the forehead, simple and tender. As I prepare to leave, more thoughts of you seem to enter. I get to the door, but one last glance at you and I'm compelled to stay. I gotta admit, it's got me bad. This blues for Lady J.
Oh wow, that's some snapping. A little bit X-rated. It's a little X-rated. We're supposed to be PG up in here.
Hey, listen. That just happened to be the one that it went to. So
I like that though. That's beautiful. That's a love unmatched. Any final thoughts?
My final thoughts is, hey, whatever you do, keep your head up. Love yourself like you love everybody else. Put that same energy into yourself that you put into everybody else. Never let somebody else take precedence over your well-being. And remember, if better is possible, then good is not enough. If you're a husband, put that woman and those kids first. What the Bible say, love your wife as Christ loved the church. And everybody know he died for the church. So if you ain't willing to die for that woman, I don't know why you married her. So shout out to all the people who was able to listen today. Shout out to my man, Metu Jello. I'm going to hit you up, my brother. I got to get you in for an interview, presentation, whatever it is you want to do. Shout out to my sister, Meika, for having me on. We've been wanting to do this for a while, so I appreciate you having me. And again, everybody keep your head up. Know that what don't break you, make you. Keep your head up, keep pushing forward, and everything going to be all right.
Oh gosh, thank you so much, DMG, for sharing your incredible journey with us today. Your story is a powerful reminder that no matter the obstacle, growth and redemption are always possible. See how I'm rhyming now?
I appreciate it, sis.
We look forward to seeing where you go on your path and continue to be an inspiration to all of us. Thank you so much. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Mouth Off with Meika. Remember, growth and redemption are possible for everyone. Each step forward is a testament to your strength. Until next time, I am Meika Wash, and this is Mouth Off with Meika. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And we out of here.
Show who you are. Good rig. Is you kid and bit the forbidden. As it was written, you overbidding. With the heathens, karma is a bitch, so how you living? Pray for my enemies, unforgiving. Cast the pearls on hog moms and chitlins. If it's too hot, get your ass out the kitchen. Finger licking good, good looking. Stewing in the stew, I'm cooking. You psyched out, paranoid and shookin'. Shook the table, fades, I'm booking. Get prepared for this ass whooping. Listen to the words being spoken. You were talking, I'm awake and woken. While I'm spitting this, got your spit, got choking. Era up, a glimpse in my world, eyes shut open. Parallel in my mind.